Hello, this is Bill. I've started a new demo. Um, it deals with microscopic stuff, so I thought it might be kind of interesting to show how we get from concept to final product. Like the stuff that we're building as we're building it and how it changes and takes shape. And I think it might be interesting. Um, this is meant to be hub area. This will be where the user gets dropped in initially. You can see there's some sort of bound here so that they don't step off into space. Uh, this the space background is meant to just as a placeholder. Hopefully, we'll have some audio, some voiceover telling the user what they need to do and how to use the controllers. Maybe some some flyouts over these controllers to say, hey, this button does this, whatnot. Uh, so when the user's ready and feeling comfortable, they'll be presented with some sort of user interface. In this instance, it's a big squishy button. This is a PNG, uses a sprite. It's got some behavior on it to be able to always face the camera so that you can't get lost. When the user's ready to go, they'll press fade into the compositor and then load the next scene. There we go. So this is meant to be inside some sort of organism. We're surrounded by good cells and bad cells. You can see the bad cells are the red ones there. The intention here is to present the user with a tool set in order to edit the DNA of any cell. So we're going to bring them here and help them identify which are the good cells and which are the bad cells. The cells themselves are obviously pick-upable and throwable. I wanted to get the impression that you're in a space that has some weight to it, like a fluid. I think it's come together pretty well. Obviously, all these graphics and everything you're seeing are all placeholder. All I'm concentrating on at the moment is getting a system that helps to give the impression of being within a fluid. How we've done that is off screen there's a particle system, and the particle system is driving these meshes and giving them force based on their life cycle and how they operate. So it's easy to tweak one thing and then drive an entire system. That's come up pretty well. The rotations are all independent. There's a lot of randomization to both the mass and we'll randomize the scales a bit. The far spinning sphere you can see as well is also driven by that same particle system. I don't think it's come out quite right yet. It seems to just feel like a wall surrounding you that's rotating. It doesn't really add much to it. We'll find another way to add some more depth to it. At the moment, we have a particle system doing dust motes in the foreground. Give it that, like the immediacy. Then we have the part that's important, which is the cell part. And then some middle distance effect, which I'm not quite nailed down on, and then we'll have the skybox. It's nice. The particles move as a uniformly as a system, but within the system there's a lot of randomization. It feels like you're underwater. In order to get to these red cells, they're the important ones. Created a little black hole utility for the trigger to be able to bring those cells to you. Hold on the trigger and it will attract only the cells that are important to the user. So this one's coming anymore. Going over there. There we go. You little fella. Bring those guys in too. Might be outside the sphere of influence. Anywho, so the idea here is to bring in a cell and then be able to interrogate the inside of it. I think the intention is to have a much larger cell. Obviously, it's going to be, have a nice texture on it and a much better model to it. And then, in much the same way that the lab, Steam's lab experience works, where we have an orb that you use and you actually bring it to your face and transition to the next experience. We're hoping to do something like that with this. Working on the translucency. So at the moment they're opaque, and then as you bring it to your face, you'll get some translucency and maybe be able to see some of the interior elements of the cell before you actually transition to the being on the much more micro level of within the cell and start to do your editing and your splicing and whatnot. So that feels pretty good. Usually I'm inundated by red cells when I do this, and they all seem to be outside of the black hole sphere of influence. So we'll have to find a way to, obviously we've spawned everything and dragged it all that way. The particle system's driven everything in one direction, and we have nothing in that direction. So maybe a collider on that side that spawns particles back on that side if they exit the world bounds. I don't expect the user's going to spend a lot of time here, though. It's really identify and then transition to the next piece. The radial menus have been working on these. So you have an up and a down. Each of these just spawn at the moment a model just to get an idea of how this. The idea is that here that you'll have some sort of radial fan out, and you'll pick a tool, and that tool will help you splice genes and whatnot. At the moment, it just spawns more cells, but that feels better, right? It's got a nice density to it, and then the bottom one does some helixes for giggles. There we go. So the idea is here you would pull out my tools and then do some gene splicing and then fix a bad cell. That was pretty cool. That works pretty well.